Let's roll. This is Countercharge, your podcast for ranks, flanks, and kings of war. Join your hosts as they delve into the world of Panithor and bring you worldwide coverage of all things Kings of War.
Welcome to Countercharge. I'm Rob Enough.
And I'm Matt Croger. Welcome to our July Fireside. You know, it's going to be a probably quickish, shortish one today with everyone being quite busy. But, you know, we're committed to getting the Fireside out for you guys. Poor Rob's sitting here. I logged into StreamYard and he looked so tired that the chair I thought was going to eat him whole when I logged in after 30 hours there and back to Best of the Rest and Masters, Rob. You know, so what we might do is let's roll straight into that with our community update and tell us about what you've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's saw our updates on Facebook, right? So we drove from Memphis to Reno, which was 32 hours of driving, but more like 36 hours of travel time because you got to stop for gas and all that stuff. But it was an amazing experience. I mean, I would say it is the best Masters I've ever attended. The most well executed event. Like there were no scoring issues. There was really no drama. There was no nothing. It just everything worked like clockwork. You know, huge shout out to Britton. I think he was kind of the mastermind behind everything. And Kyle Timberlake. You know, Jeremy was there, but he's the handsome guy, right? He's there to deliver the prizes. But you know, the real talent, man, Britton and Kyle really made things roll. Britton kind of handled the master side, and Kyle handled Best of the Rest. So super awesome. You know, you will have seen or either heard that we did record with the Midwest region to announce that next year's Masters in 2026 will be held in Minneapolis, Minnesota, July 11th and 12th. Super excited about that. Number one, it's like, I don't know, Matt, 11 hours away, 12 hours away. It's super close in comparison. So I'm really excited about that. You know, to be fair, Matt, at this point, I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm kind of out of the tournaments for a little while, right? I'm like, okay, I can just take a breather. We're gonna get to the hobby section. It's a complete disaster. So, you know, I need a break, and maybe that'll help the podcast too. We'll get to some more interesting content coming down the pipe. But what's been going on with you?
Well, there's been a few tournaments running in Australia, but so I think a couple of weekends ago there was Winter's Wrath, which last year was the second biggest one in the country. It's run and done again. This weekend's Convict with Matt Selleck and Andrew Goodman. And last weekend we had our local ambush tournament, which was 6 games in a day, which was awesome. I went 6-0, Robert.
I may have heard that.
Yeah.
A direct misfire, right? I think it's.
Oh, really? I haven't listened to that one yet.
I think that's where I heard it. I did hear some cheeky language about you beating up on.
There actually wasn't that much beating up. I mean, the ambush games were very tight. There weren't many games where, you know how sometimes you can just, once you get a roll on, you keep going. I would say that more of the games were very tight than not. Probably 4 out of 6 were very tight. So, it was a good fun. It was good because I'm not getting to play much between events. And we've actually done a last minute in inverted commas, we're going to hold a tournament locally called it is called ACT of War, but, you know, doubles as Act of War locally for 2 days tournament in about 5 weeks' time. We're going to turn it around. So, we're going to go full steam ahead with organising that. That's me locally. I mean, you mentioned, Rob, that not much in hobby dates, but that's not surprising when you're spending effectively 3 days driving across the country.
It was a week. And like of that, like 3 days were actually at the event. It was a long time. But, you know, in terms of hobby updates, you know, can we start counting buying stuff? Because maybe I could if that counts, then that's, you know, because I did come into a ton more Westphalia halflings, like an inordinate amount.
Because that's what you needed.
Well, to be fair, they don't make them anymore, right? They've kind of moved on from that. And I had a friend who's like, I've got some. And I'm like, well, how many do you have? He's like, I got 200. I was like, okay, I'll just take everything. Why not? You know, and to be fair, like I do need more of the sword and board guys. And he had like almost 80 of those. So that's 2 more, you know, shield regiments. which will be great, whether they're foot guard or shield wall. But he also had a lot of stuff that I was missing, like the mounted casters. I didn't have any of those. So maybe I'll add some wings and maybe they'll become Pegasus, wizards on a Pegasus. To be fair, my whole Kingdoms of Men list, at this point, it's an interesting list, if I want to keep playing like knights and giants, but I really need to make some beast cavalry at some point. So we'll see how I get on. But, right now I've been playing goblins, and Kyle Poole made me a list a long time ago in the spring, and I have been playing that at every event. And to be fair, I think I'm getting better and better with the list. I'm starting to understand the synergy. That being said, I'm still getting thunderstomped when I run across something that I don't really know how this army would interact with. For example, I have direct examples. Best of the rest, I had no idea how to handle, 6 or 7 regiments of Wranglers with all the accoutrements, so that was pretty rough. Shout out to Bryce Clark. He just took me behind the woodshed with his Sylvankin and maybe into a pincushion. That being said, he didn't win by a ton, right? It was 2-1 in pillage. So I hung in there, and first time ever I got to play our very first U.S. Master, Patrick Zora Allen. It was maybe one of the most fun games I've had of Kings of War in 2-3 years. It was amazing. A lot of like swings and roundabouts, a lot of really high successful nerve dice, really low lows with the snake eyes. I mean, the highlight of the game for me, even though I lost the game, he's smashing a rabble horde with Magnilda, Chimera, and knights, right? But on the hill, I've got a troop of Mincer Mob, and I have a Luggett troop. And by the way, Luggett troops catch people out. They don't realize, like, if you give them a flank, especially off the hill. Anyways, long story short, I did like 35 damage, rolled snake eyes. Here they come, right into the knights. And just, it kept me in the game for like a whole couple more turns. So, anyways, super fun. And shout out to Tyler, who I played in game 4, I guess. And unlike Jeremy, I do club the baby seal. Now, to be fair to him, he doesn't cry. He takes his beating like a man, which I appreciate. Ironically, though, he finished higher than me in the event. Even though I beat him head to head, he still finished a few points.
Isn't that one of the best things of having a podcast is being able to say things with no right of reply?
Oh, for sure. To be fair, he gave it to me pretty good in that game. There was more than a few F-bombs were dropped.
Yeah.
And so we were people were looking at us like we're going at it, and it was a lot of fun. So, but anyways, I've digressed. I have to get back. I want to get back to the goblins, maybe make a new display board, maybe start adding some more bits. Mantic, please listen. Give me some of those. You have the hack paws, right? With the Rat King guys on top. Give me those with goblins on them. I want to make some cavalry, but I don't want to use the old rustic ones that I have in my ogre army. That no bueno for me. So give me some cavalry. I want to make some cavalry. So, but man, I know you probably at this point, we haven't talked in like a month. So you probably have already painted like another 1,000 points of abyssals, 2,000 points of halflings. You probably got another 1,500 points of Trident Realms. So tell us, what have you accomplished?
No, definitely not been too much else going on, but I'm basically finished a couple of troops of gargoyles. I've just got to base them. I've just got to get them off their little stands and onto the bases, which is a bit tricky. But when that's done, I'll have about 2,000 points of Abyss done. So I took the Abyss to the Ambush tournament. It reminded me when you were saying about the no scoring issues that obviously you wouldn't have been using Companion, because the last 2 tournaments here in Australia, with the supposed improvements that happened after Clash of Kings in the Companion, they took away naming Blackjack as Blackjack in the Companion, and now there's all these selections people have to make to effectively create Blackjack.
Oh, you don't just get to pick Blackjack.
And all the names are super confusing. So both 2 tournaments in a row have ended up with thinking that they're running Blackjack and then they don't. So it's just crazy. It's just crazy. So yeah, so I haven't done a heap of hobby, although I rebought an airbrush and a station. So I'm hoping to have more success with that this time around. I just went for the simplest one I could this time, the entry level Patriot.
That's a badger, right? A badger?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not giving me like I want it mostly for base coating and things. It's not quite as fine as I want. So,
What is it, like a 0.35 needle? What is it?
I'm trying to think.
0.5?
0.4. Yeah, 0.4 maybe. 0.4,
Okay, so that's good for like base coating and maybe clear coating, varnishing and stuff.
Yeah. So you can get another pin for it. So or if it's working out, then I'll get something a little more complicated so I can do a little bit more with it. But so that's good. And I did a test base for some Empire Dust, which was good.
What happened to your old airbrush? Did you have to buy a new one? Was it like an upgrade, or did you like destroy it?
No, I gave it away. No, fair enough. and that was a couple of years ago now. So I had the Sotar 2020, which is quite good.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, but I just could never get it to work for me. I think because it was at that point I was.
You're not good enough to keep it operational. Like it's so
exactly.
like those really high. It's interesting. I find that the really low end brushes or the really high end brushes, the low end brushes are maybe not built as good, right? And they clog up. And then the high end ones, like the size of the needle is so small and they're so finicky. That middle spot, like I've been using the Iwata Eclipse lately for like the last couple of years, and literally I can't clog it up. I have not been able, but I had the cheap Iwata Neo, and I would clog that thing up all the time. So
yeah,
it's interesting. I tell everybody, if you want to buy an airbrush, just buy something you can afford, mess with it, and at some point you can then make the decision to move up to a better brush. There's no point of spending $300 on a brush your first go.
100%, and because then what happens is you did what I did, and you get depressed with it, and you give it away. So yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying playing with that. So we may as well kind of roll into where we're up to on the hobby commitments then.
Yeah. So I got nothing. Like literally, I am zero. I did not do any. Like, to be fair, to give myself a little credit, it has been 98, 99, 100 degrees here with like 80 to 85% humidity. It's been unbearable. And my paint room is upstairs. So heat rises, and even with the air kicking in, it's just not keeping up. So I have had no desire to really paint, but this week it's been in the 70s. So maybe we'll be back to it soon, but I will. I'm telling you right now, Matt, I'm coming for you though. I see your little list there. I don't care. I'm going to double it. I'm coming hard, but it'll all come in like 3 months.
Yeah, mine started strong, but it's really tailed off. So, you've got 5 months to go, and
true.
Yep. And I have completely finished building actually the Twilight Kin Champions box. So, I want to. That's one of the reasons I wanted the airbrush actually for the champion stuff, because I just want to get base coat.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Nice and quickly.
For the Basilean, I just did them all like with a metallic color, washed them. And then I went in and added some blue and some white and some flash, and really simple. In retrospect, though, it was really hard to do the horses that way. You're airbrushing all the armor, and then you're trying to paint in between the bits. So I don't know if that was the right move, but it's almost done. I've still got probably like a couple hours and I can be done.
Well, I won't. Yeah, I'm definitely getting my hobby commitments done this year. There will not be a dot point left unchecked. I'm telling you that right now.
Well, even if it's not like Jeremy's gonna pass you. Right.
Yeah,
I don't even.
Definitely not.
I think he's probably resigned himself to last place again.
I can't remember the last time we got an update on his single ice elemental.
Yeah, it might have been when he was talking about borrowing an army from Felix for Adepticon. Well, actually, I think he took his single model and he put it in the paint competition. I think at Adepticon. That might have been the last time.
Yeah, right.
So. Well, let's jump into feedback and engagement. And guys, we'll keep it short and sweet. We don't have a lot. We'll just give you a quick reminder that, if you want to help the show grow, please subscribe and leave us a review, wherever that is, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Podbean, reviews. And if the place, if the place that you're getting it from allows you to provide comments to episodes, please do it. We love to engage with you guys. With that, let's take a quick commercial break. And on the other side, we'll get into Mantic news, and then we'll dive into the vault. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Flossie Croger. I'm listening to Canada.
And welcome back. And so, not heaps of news, certainly not on the Kings of War front this month, but there's been lots of Halo announcements. So if you're interested in Halo, check out your inboxes with that. But, new teams coming. That's right, Rob, isn't it? And, the biggest news that I'm interested in is Epic Warpath is on its way.
Yeah.
I cannot wait.
Has anybody received it yet?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, to be honest, I haven't read the digital rule book that we've been given. I'm just keen to see what these little models look like, when you get them out onto the table.
And can you blow them up?
Yes.
Because a lot of the Armada stuff you can blow up to 300%, and it's usable in Kings of War like a Phoenix.
Yeah, so that'll be very interesting. And again, that was another reason for the airbrush as well, because you just kind of slap a color on there and dry brush over the top, and then you're calling it done.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, like at that scale, like you don't really need, you can't unless you're really looking under a microscope or in like magnification. You're not going to be able to see it anyways.
No. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And then this month in the Vault, Rob, there was an interesting mix. Some have commented that it's a bit average. To be fair, compare it to any month, I guess, and there's some really cracking months, which I think
like last month, July, right? It was crazy with all the goblins and everything. It was a banner month, and so coming off of that to this, where you've got half the second half of the undead fleet, you've got the remaining champion bases, you've got a couple Armada islands, which are great. I've painted the resin versions; those are really cool models. And then you do have more bits for the sci-fi side. That like there's a piece that goes on the mule. You've got like a dead GCPS, and you've got some guns. But I think the standout of the month is there's some characters, including Jarvis, which are available now, which is cool. I think the other 3 might be League of Infamy. I'm not. Don't quote me on that. But you've got some guys in there that could maybe be. I mean, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, but it might be this guy with the hat with the wings. He might be able to be a seductress because he kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
So there's some cool models.
I know what the people were saying about the Vault. I saw it and it made me feel kind of like, ooh, are we starting to scrape the barrel here? Particularly if you don't like the Armada flavor, because you've got pretty much half of that is Armada, and then you've got 3 bases. So
yeah, and then you got basically like an upgrade to a mule, and you have 4 Kings of War characters.
Yeah, so like I know what they mean, but in the past when we've had a month like this, it has been a temporary kind of low vibe.
Maybe it's a signal that they're sculpting a bunch of stuff, and next month in September we're gonna get like maybe we get a herd army.
Ooh, you never know.
Or could they possibly?
You mean before they kill them off in 4th?
Well, right, but yes. But could they also finally? Could we see the light? Can we see the Commandant?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, that'd be.
It amazing. It does have, because of that mix, doesn't it? It always has this nice little suspense. What are we going to get this month? Because there is often something that's new, like this undead fleet. We'd never seen it before, and then it just came out of nowhere. So they're showing the intent to get stuff sculpted, right? And I would say the stuff they're getting sculpted is, I would imagine, I mean, we obviously don't have access to their download data, but it seems to be, I'd imagine it's actually reasonably low value stuff. Like there's not that many people searching for Armada, right? But people are still downloading and going for it. So you'd think if they've paid at some point for a sculptor for that, they must have paid for sculptors on other stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure there's just more coming. To be fair, just like with 4th edition kind of draining my hobby mojo a little bit, I imagine they're probably ramping up for the inevitable 4th edition launch and come out with a big splash of things. And to be fair too, I think Halo right now is hot and heavy, dude. Like that's everything to them right now. Even to the point where if you didn't see it on Tabletop, had a great interview with Ronnie. It's like 35 minutes, 30 minutes of it is not Kings of War. They don't talk about Kings of War until like the last few minutes. And I mean, it's pretty much right now, the focus is on everything but Kings of War. And that might be because behind the scenes, they're really focused on getting 4th edition written. But once that drops, then the tables will turn and we'll get a lot more model focus.
Well, Halo, and I imagine they must be putting a bit of effort into this Assassin's Creed as well. Like it was
you're right.
Interesting to have such a big title come at like the timing seems a little bit maybe not sensible given how much effort's going into Halo, but I guess when this IP comes up, if you want it, you got to grab it when you can.
Well, and,
so,
you know what, we can sit here and backseat drive, but like the reality is when you have the ability to pull in millions of dollars with a quick shot in the arm. I mean, it's not unlike what they did with Hellboy and some of those other games, right? Worms, right? I mean, take it, and it potentially you're bringing in people to the Mantic universe that hasn't experienced Mantic games before, because typically they're putting more traditional board games. I mean, I know Epic Warpath is an example of something that is pretty traditional, but a lot of board games have come through the pipe this way, and they're kind of one-offs, right? They do it, they support it for a little bit, and then they sort of let it go to pasture.
I do wonder if it's the way of the future. I don't know. I am wondering, Rob, if not because of Mantic necessarily, but is Fourth one of the last editions of Rank and Flank that we'll see of a game? I just wonder if the genre is dying.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I've had these conversations. I don't know where I had this conversation most recently, but if you look at what's out there for Ranks and Flanks, like I locally am not seeing a lot of Ranks and Flanks other than the occasional Kings of War, right? Like Song of Ice and Fire, Cool Mini or not, is not in a financially sound place, right? They are not making new games. They've cut all their staff. So what does that mean for Song of Ice and Fire? I don't know. It's a weird arrangement anyways, because they don't even have the license. That's Dark Sword Miniatures has the license, and then they're like a sub-licensee. So it's weird, right? Because it's not based on the TV show. It's based on the books, I believe. So anyways, Cool Mini or not, that's the thing. The old world, I don't know. I mean, people are buying the models, but I don't see it being played. And I'm sure, people are probably going, well, it's played at Adepticons. Yes, at the big events, there are big, giant old world events. I mean, there was a huge one at Adepticon, but I don't see it like played locally. So I don't know, and so I hate to really make a conclusion off that just because I haven't seen it, right? Maybe I'm not in the right geographic area to know what's going on, but it just feels like what we've been saying all along, which is, Ranks and Flanks has a high barrier for entry. It requires a lot of models. It requires a lot of effort, just to get stuff to the table. And I know that's why things like Ambush and Champions exist, to give people that flavor of a Ranks and Flanks experience without 300 models, right? And I appreciate that. But, you bring up a good point, like, what does the future hold? Because, other than a few, like, independent rule sets that don't have model ranges, you got Oathmark, right? And then there's a few more. But the reality is, like, no one's making, like, a big Ranks and Flanks game, that I'm aware of. No. I mean, we've got a few.
And you'd imagine, the old world, it's not going to get rules adjustments, right? It'll be what it is for probably a decade and a half. They might keep releasing a few old lines of armies, but, its rules won't change. So we might be in one of the last evolutions of a rule set for Ranks and Flanks games around, that bothers to keep changing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we count historicals, there is still Ranks and Flanks, right? It's just not in a fantasy setting. But I mean, I'm fine with it though, right? I mean, I think we're still, we're still sticking around. We have a lot of good, fortitude, right? That's the word I would use. I mean, we're still here. I don't think we're growing as fast as we would like, but it is what it is. I mean, it is a very packed market, and there's a lot of new hotness coming out. And, I'm not going to begrudge anybody because they want to play a skirmish game, right?
No,
I mean,
absolutely
not.
Not.
If that's what you want to, especially like locally, like if that's what keeps our doors open at the local shop, more power to them. If it's playing Warcrow, right? It seems to be all the hotness right now. Fine, play Warcrow. Cool. I mean, I still play, Star Wars Legion, right? I mean, there's lots of great games out there, and I'm certainly not. I don't only play Kings of War. I have lots of games that I enjoy. I just don't maybe get the others to the table as often as Kings of War. So it's going to be interesting, though. I think what you're hitting at there, though, is 4th edition is going to drop, and let's see the impact that it makes. And because I've said this a number of times, it's an opportunity to clean it up and make a really good version of the game that maybe you've got the professional handler back in with Alicia really refining things. And maybe that makes a better experience for the experienced players like us. But at the same time, I'm sure Ronnie is pushing Alicia in the briefs of what he wants to find new ways to engage people that are on the outside looking in. Right? How do you? Because that's what you got to do here. You need to keep the people you already got, but at the same time, you've got to put a shot in the arm for the people that are, I don't want Kings of War curious, the people that are on the outside going, and it's not just rules, right? It's got to be model ranges. Their new stuff is great, but they've got to keep doubling down on that. That dragon that they gave us in the vault, right? Come on, man, it is amazing. We need more of that.
I can't wait to see some of the stuff that I think I might have a hint of what's coming. I think there's could be some interesting stuff on the horizon.
What's funny? It's not like they keep it hidden. It's all in the books and in the background stories that people just read. But when ironically, our topic of the month is going to cover which is the most flavorful character of Panathor, and we got a couple people who are like, it's a bit meh. Like, okay, I get that, but there's stuff in there if you can read between the lines.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, with that, why don't we take one more quick commercial break, and we'll be back with our topic of the month.
Hi, I'm Luke. I've got a list for that Schaefer. I'm a co-host on the Best Firefight podcast, Controlled Fire, and you're listening to Countercharge.
And welcome back. And as Rob alluded to, our topic this month was who is the most flavorful character from Panathor and why? Again, we had some problems reading with just a few statements of names and no whys. So, but, that is what it is now, Rob, isn't it? No point,
it is.
No point beating your head against a brick wall.
It's funny when I ask people questions like in a list builder, they go, what do you mean? And I tell them, I said, well, your interpretation of the question is half the answer, right? So we're just going to have to go with this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's roll into it. So first up, we had Dave Fanning, who, does a fake character first, Rawdon Gamzee. If you know, you know. He said, if you're talking about lore flavor, well, Orion's in a few books. Doesn't say why he's flavorful, though. If you're talking about characters that appear in the rules, then maybe the Green Lady. If you're talking true flavour, well, halflings are the only army with chefs, and we all know the most famous chef in Panathor. So there's no whys in there. I think Green Lady.
Well, his why is that they exist.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's his why.
Exactly. Yeah. I think Green Lady's pretty close these days, to be honest, with the whole balance rule of between Cloak of Death and Radiance of Life. But
she feels a lot on the table like she does from the books. Like I think her rules convey her background.
Yeah, the main thing for me is I just think they could just be dialed up a notch, because she's meant to be pretty powerful, right? So I wouldn't mind seeing her costing a bit more and being dialed up a notch. But I know she's good in the armies you can get her in. But
So next up we have Jesse Garrett. He says Seductor of Gnome Glass Shield and Host Shadowbeast. Feels like he's taking a piss a little bit, Matt, but I don't think he is because that's what he played at Best of the Rest, which he rolled into Best Overall. So, Jesse's a consummate hardcore power gamer, but he had some fantastic handles on his Blood Worm Legions. Huge shout out to him. Great finish.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Gad. We've got who just simply says Golok.
Well, what's interesting is he doesn't explain why, and I think it's because if he explained why, there'd be a lot of spoilers there.
Yes.
So that might be why he didn't extrapolate, right? Like really why. So next up we have Daniel Hopkins. He says Jarvis with undead army following him around. Agreed. I love Jarvis. I love the fact that you put this guy who looks like a librarian into an undead army, and now you sort of you have a good version of the undead. I think that's really cool.
Other than the switching, do you think he represents his flavor well enough? Other than the fact that he switches the alignment?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I just think it's interesting that he changes. Yeah. To your point, I don't know that really is. I mean, because have we had any? He's not in any books, right? Other than just the backgrounds.
I think this is where
he's probably in Helby's Rift though. He's in Helby's Rift, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is where I think the differentiation between undead and EOD would be awesome, right? That it would help him out. Whether it was because if undead were more heal based and EOD more surge based, then he could feel even more flavorful.
Well, we got to be careful with the undead because we don't want to set Marshall Temple off.
No. We don't need more Marshall Temple posting, that's for sure.
We love you, Marshall.
Yeah. Marshall. Next up, Florence Mondes says hero, obviously. There's been a new thread on Fanatics from Matt Selleck about, can we start a campaign for getting hero another name? If I was Mantic, I'd be keeping hero name the same.
I think it's great
for the campaign.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that any publicity, even bad publicity, is good publicity, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Next up, we have Danny Graves. He says Aaron Cadwaller overcame his weenie legs, bullying school, being different, and went on to save his entire nation. Dude is badass, but still humble with it, and he has an entire novel to prove it. You don't get much cooler. Give that boy a model. Plus, Broken Alliance is the best Panther novel so far. Yeah, I mean, that's a good example of where that guy wasn't in the rules per se, right?
Yeah.
I think he came out of the book, right? Broken Alliance. And he's very colorful.
Yeah, Danny's in obviously interpreting the question as who's the most flavorful overall, kind of like Dave said with is this book or rules. I think when I originally thought of the question,
we didn't say
no.
and we weren't specific to say
100%.
rules, background rules, or novels. We just said Panther. So technically, Aaron, he's not wrong.
Yeah,
and you know what? And unlike others, he said why.
Yes, exactly. So when I think I thought of it, the question, and this is my fault for not articulating well enough, like I like it when they're well represented on the table, that flavour from the books or wherever they are is well represented on the table. I don't know too many people taking Aaron. Like Aaron rules certainly don't have him feeling, that he can save the entire nation. Next up, John Guns, the Goblin Blaster. Not strictly a character, but a rum full of flavour. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, next up we got our favorite Steve Hildrew. I think Morgoth, as an elf-taught necromancer, has a huge story I'd love to know more about. There's a book coming, I think. Yeah, Morgoth is a good shout-out because he has been around almost, I think, since the beginning. I mean, he was on the cover of the first edition two-player starter set, Morgoth's Revenge, right? It was undead and dwarves. I want to think that came with maybe even before that. I think it came with beta rules in the box. So he's been around a long time, and I think over the years he's sort of bigger than he's sort of built up this reputation. But it's a cool model, right? The original metal model is cool, and I think he surely has all the rules.
I reckon surely that has been one of the most adjusted characters on the tabletop across editions is Morgoth, from swinging from too powerful to underpowerful to yeah. Steve Hildrew up next. Oh no, sorry, you just did Steve, didn't you? Yeah. Scott Salee, Greedy Guts. On the table, he's worth his points. Lore-wise, a Greedy Guts was someone that enjoyed more than they should have of gastromancy treats and transforms into a Greedy Guts. Always hungry. And it's a cracking model. I love the Greedy Guts model.
For sure. Next up, we have Mark Zielinski. He says, it's just the game fluff. Then Lathiel Silverheart, then Bleakheart, then Voidheart. I guess he's got a heart fetish. She has quite the evolution in story. If you include the novels, then Orion for Steps of Deliverance.
That just makes me think of, does Mark also collect My Little Pony? That's what those names make me think of.
They have little cutie marks on his arm.
Can you imagine if they'd done that? It would have been so bad.
That'd be amazing.
Kyle Poole, Jarvis. The idea that undeath is not inherently evil or full of malice is a unique take and a prime candidate for a novel.
He brings up a good point that Jarvis is interesting, but I don't think they've really fleshed out his background enough. I think there's more that they can do there. Rory Quinn follows Gad by saying Gallic, but he picked Jag Bloodspike, has some main character energy, strong anti-hero potential, not a good guy, but a bad guy you can root for.
Where's Jag from?
He's the Abyssal Dwarf character, isn't he, in the formation?
Oh, yes, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's good. It's cool model. I don't think he has a model, but it's cool rules, right?
Yeah. Carl Newbold, Bannock Colam, and Kragoth, my two favourite characters in Kings of War, whose friendship also tells the story of Halpi's Rift, the loss of land for the Free Dwarves, and the tyranny of Golok. What's next in store? Also need to mention Talanar, something going on with the Northern Alliance. Yeah, that's good. My issue with Bannock and Colam and Kragoth has been that flavour of togetherness has never been reflected on the table. Do you remember in version 2, the two Basalian characters, who are they? The two Alohi variants. The one that's basically a phoenix and the mini dragon.
You put me on the spot.
Julius and
Samacris.
Samacris. They used to have rules about one or other being on the table. To me, there could have been something quite easily with Bannock, Kolam, and Kragoth that made them interact on the table. Not unlike, maybe not with spells, which is the one for the Abyssal Dwarves. With, I would have loved to see that.
Next up, we got Chet. He says Grony Snark because every time he hits the table, he creates a new story. Agreed. Every time I play against him, he does something goofy. Erasmus Berger says Lathiel is rather spicy. Her story is also a great window into Night Stalker and Twilight Kin faction lore. For sure. She's been around a long time as well, right? I mean, but next up, we got Adrian Scott. He says, hi, King Gallic. He doesn't just call him Gallic. So he's in reverence to this man.
Yes.
And the why? Because I'm biased as hell. Hey, you know what? Good on you.
Yeah. You own it, man.
You own it.
Yeah. Everyone needs to believe their Facebook feed once in a while. Max King, I think the Sorcerer probably has the most flavorful soup. Matthew Temple, Magwar and Jojo. Yes, they are basically one. A unique set of rules for the goblins, strange base size for an individual, and Def 5. In the novels, you learn a lot about Magwar and Jojo and their attempt at power. Yeah,
there's a lot of that in the Ascent of the Goblin King by Rob Berman. They touch on him. They interact with him, and Jojo. So So John Paul Fuller Jackson says it's definitely not Thonar. How does Steve pronounce it? Is that how Steve? I remember.
No, it was Nick LeGrand here when he made joke about Mike Tyson, wasn't it? He uses his Thonar.
Thonar. Yeah. So he says no mention of fluff whatsoever. Why does he have better Storm? Why does he have better Storm Strike? What is his purpose? Who knows? So he's saying that's not his favorite character because there's no really mention of him in the fluff.
David Musgrave, Madriga's got a characterful background across Kings of War and Armada, and then underwhelming rules. Daniel Bird is in support of Hero from Kingdoms of Men, such a complex and intriguing depth to his story and character. Just ask the Direct Misfire guys.
Next up, we've got Idiot Proof Dalek. He says they're all a bit meh, unfortunately. I don't know how you say meh in with an English accent, but I did my best. The fluff writing tends towards the cliche, and the characters of the novels are generally not the ones with the rules on the tabletop. He brings up a good point, right? We need to have more synergy between the special characters that have been created. Like Orion's a good example. He's got a lot of fleshed out backstory there in the novels, but we don't have rules for him. So that could be something down the road.
That would be something they definitely, I think, should improve for fourth, because that's the thing that, that traditionally Warhammer had, right? The characters you were reading about, you got on the table. And that really helps bring that fluff together. And I agree. I don't agree with them all being meh, but I do agree with the fact that they haven't joined those two spheres well enough to date. Mecha Sturgeon says, Morgoth is the most iconic for me, recognisable miniature, great rules and interesting background. He needs a novel detailing his time with the elves and a fall from grace. Close second is Basusu the Vile. He's got a miniature and was a terror back in the day. Plus his name is so fun to say. Too bad his backstory is bland.
All right, next up we got Mr. Marshall Temple. He says, Jarvis. He is trying to use the undead for good and not be corrupted by necromancy. He wears an outfit from a faction that is not currently in the game, but is mentioned in the preface of many newer books. His model is interesting. He looks like he is trying to run away while his arm is outstretched forward, almost as if he's commanding his arm, but trying to escape as well. I think when I look at Jarvis, it feels like he's standing there, like trying to hold off, like, well, leave me alone. That's what it looks like. He's like a sign of defeat, like, leave me alone.
I thought he's dabbing. I thought he's just dabbing on the dance floor.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
I'm too old for that, but I think my daughter knows how to do that.
Yeah. Mark Otley, favorite character for sheer destructive wreckage is Gakamak, though not much story with him. Also, Thundrax Skullsplitter, who is not named character in Kings of War rules from First Dungeon Saga, but a cool model if you can get it. Rune Prosgard, I'm rereading Pious right now before reading through Thick and Thin, and just remember how much I like the orc character Gurak. Also really like the goblin Grogger from Ascend of the Goblin King.
Yeah, Grogger's a great character. With our final comment, we've got Paul Forbes. He says, Crimson the Huntress, my Order of the Brother Mark exemplar hunter with Gauntlet, Wings of Honeymaze, and Order of the Hawk. She consistently causes havoc and pressure all game long, and my opponents always have to be very careful with her positioning. their characters as her 15 attacks hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s with Crushing Strength 2 is very, very tasty. I hope those rules survive into 4th edition for you.
Paul's flavor is death. It sounds like.
Yes. Well, to be fair, I like an OP character myself a little bit. Yeah. Especially one that can just eviscerate other individuals.
Remember how OP the first iteration of Grody Snark was?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Could wipe out a whole unit on their own.
I'm surprised nobody named Grakamok, the character from the Ogres. He is really flavorful as well. 7 attacks, hitting on 3s with Blast, D3, up to 21 hits with Crushing 3.
Yeah. I wonder,
pretty tasty.
Do you think that's because over time, much less people have been taking him and he's kind of got a little bit forgotten? Because he almost used to be an auto, right? When the Ogre list was first written, before they got all these excellent undercosted characters.
Well, yeah, I think now that his points are only 230, I think we're seeing a resurgence. We're seeing him more. That being said, he's basically a little bit more than a horde, and he has the nerve of a horde, but he is still, he's still defense 5. So I do like the very inspiring too that he provides. Especially if you're not running a mammoth, he creates a nice little bubble. But I personally love him, but I understand too that he's also a pincushion, right? Like if you see him out there, you don't want him hitting you, because he literally, if you can roll hot, he can destroy a big unit in one go if you land those hits and roll good on the blast. So, and Crushing 3 is, God help you. I think one time I got him into a flank of Enslaved Guardians. It was juicy, man. 14 attacks with Blasty 3. Love it. But that being said, thanks to everybody for all the great comments. And we'll share a new topic of the month shortly. But let's take our final commercial break. On the other side, we'll give you a quick update on the podcast and then jump into the topic of the month for August, right? Is that what we're in?
Correct.
Okay. All right. We'll be right back.
I'm Ronnie from Mantic Games, and you're listening to Countercharge.
Welcome back. And now for a few podcast updates. Please don't forget to share the show with the community. Give us a review. This helps folks that are interested in Kings of War find us. And, especially if they're on Facebook, recommend that they jump on our Facebook page with the other 1,500 crazy people we have. I love engaging people, and it's been a lot of fun. So, and I think we got many years to come. So in terms of the podcast itself, I think I don't know about you, Matt, but I'm kind of in an area where part of the calendar where I'm not going to be as busy with tournaments. So I'm really looking forward to getting, maybe dig into a little bit more interesting topics that we haven't had time to do for some time. And I think I said at the top of the show, I'm in editing mode with US Master content. It's going to take me a while, but we're going to break it up into pieces and we'll slowly get it out. What I think is really interesting though, is we just started a series on organized play, and something that organically happened at Masters is that we had the ability to talk to several new players that this was either their first tournament or their first really big tournament, and we got to talk to them and really build on some of the stuff we talked to Zach about getting into tournament play. And so, kind of going in before the event, what is your expectations? And then during and after, get a sense of, well, did it meet your expectations? What do you feel about it? So really excited to share that with you. We have more list builders coming. I do have one with Andy Patton recorded and it's ready for editing. But if I'm being honest, I don't think anybody wants to hear from him. I mean, he went 2 and 4.
Every now and then we need to listen to it from someone average.
Well, to be fair, he's not even average. He played so poorly that the Southeast lost best region. We only lost by 5 points to the South.
Imagine being single-handedly responsible for that.
For sure, man. It was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, geez. Now, to be fair, this has nothing to do with the fact that I just spent 72 hours in the car with him. And then I don't really want to hear his voice.
Don't need more of that voice.
I don't need any more of us. Hopefully you've had a chance to listen to our Pious coverage on Lore Masters Library. Nathan will be posting up in the near future about what we're going to be reviewing in September on Lore Master. And Matt, what's been going on with Rack and Slaves review? That's in the works, right?
Got the people, but and so it's definitely down to me scheduling a time, and then we've just got to get through the pile of rat poo that is the list. So, Yep, it will be coming. It'll be coming before the death of the edition. I'll tell you.
Well,
that.
certainly before Ogres ever hit, right? The Ogre review.
Well, at this stage, I might have to take over that one. So
yeah, I think
Jeremy,
so. We may have to.
Jeremy actually listening to this,
he doesn't listen.
You're in danger, buddy.
Yeah, he doesn't listen.
No. It's more Disney podcasts these days, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
He's at Disneyland again. I you know what? To be fair, I am a little bit jealous. As often he's like every other weekend. He's got a new vacation to some off, Southern California. I mean, I wish I had that life.
In the spirit of the potential for fourth coming in the next little while, we're gonna whether that's 6 months or 12 months or 18, who knows? But that's what our question's about. When would you want fourth edition to drop, and why? So that's the topic of the month for August.
Emphasis on the why.
Yes. There's everyone listening. There's 2 parts to this question: when and why. And why?
How about how? Could how be part of it too?
Yeah. Jeez, we can't add a third part. Seriously.
No, it'd be too much. It's too much.
I can just imagine people like with their heads exploding in front of a keyboard, trying to make sure they've ticked off 3 parts of a question.
100%.
Yeah. So we'll leave you with that little tidbit and the next question. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the July Fireside. Hopefully we have Jeremy back for the next one. And until next time, keep countercharging.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Countercharge. Please let us know what you thought of the show by emailing us at counterchargepodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter @countercharge15, or by commenting on the Countercharge Kings of War podcast Facebook group. If you enjoy the show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. Until next time, keep countercharging. Music is a composition of Kevin MacLeod and is licensed under Creative Commons.